here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
With that too, there's also a shadow side of all of this too, putting it in the hands of people, because we're hearing a lot of scams that are coming out. Can you shed some light on what that is? Because it was confusing to me too. It's truthfully, when I first heard about it, I was like, who would create scams in around vulnerable populations like this?
Yeah, one of the problematic areas right now are what are called crisis pregnancy centers or fake clinics. And these are organizations that promote themselves as a resource for a person who's pregnant to make a decision to get testing, be supported. And they often position themselves as a resource, a solution for someone in need of an abortion. But then when the person goes in the doors, they actually don't offer abortion. They are religiously or politically motivated, and they're actually going to end up talking someone out of the abortion or delaying them for enough time that they miss the window for an in-person abortion, things like that. So it is a problem. We are taking a lot of actions with our SEO and online presence in order to push back and ensure that evidence-based, fact-based information is rising above these fake clinics online. That's part of the confusion that I think you're referencing, is if you search abortion near me right now, you get all sorts of mishmash of search results. Planned Parenthood is still right up there at the top, which is good. Even in the states that they're not able to operate clinics, they're still hosting a whole set of vetted and medically backed information, including they're now linking off to the Plan C website, which is a really big deal for us. We feel really happy that we are at this stage where we can align with them and say we all want the same things, even if Planned Parenthood runs clinics and Plan C is telling people how to access pills. And here in this moment in history, Planned Parenthood is going to send them off to Plan C if they can't be able to directly serve them. So that's one area of misinformation that is really important for us to be combating, or I don't want to use combat language, but like be proactive about, right? And there's also, if someone wants to get involved in that, there is an advocacy group that's called exposedfakeclinics.com is the website. It's run by AAF, which is a really great activism organization. They're mobilizing volunteers to be reporting these fake clinics online, to be balancing out. And I know that Gen Z, oh gosh, I'm blanking on their name. There's a group of TikTokers who are also creating technology to push back. And
bless the TikTokers. They're doing all kinds of advocacy on the ground.
It's amazing. I think it's Gen Z for Change, and they're just rocking it with initiatives like that. So yeah, it really is about help. It's so related in my mind to conversations that this country has had about media literacy and making sure as you consume the news that you are able to be discerning about what is quote unquote real news versus fake news, or what's propaganda, and it's similar. It's like helping people, even those who have lower levels of education or live in rural communities, helping to get information out there that has to do with media literacy and being discerning about what they're finding. And then it's also about ensuring that we're being proactive about systems of search and systems that are delivering information in the internet at all, and being sure that we're proactively kind of encouraging the evidence-based information to rise to the top.
Yes. And is there concern about these cycle tracking apps? Because I keep reading articles about that, and I want a little more clarity around that.
I have heard concern as well. I've spent some time looking into that as well. And the concern is basically that, I want to be clear, it's not that the cycle apps are suddenly delivering their data to the state agencies that are going to be analyzing it for pregnancy. That is a whole other world that we're not talking about at this point. The concern is that the data is being aggregated, and then if someone was criminalized for an abortion in a specific state, that data might be used to build a case against them. So that
Okay.
I want to kind of like, that's what we have been in the practice of doing at Plan C, is not just responding with fear to the law, but really asking, what is this law saying or suggesting? And if it's suggesting that someone might be criminalized for having chosen an abortion in a state and accessed an abortion in a certain state, then potentially a case would be built against them using data from these big tech companies. And so that's where the concern around tracking is coming up. I do know that there's an app called Yuki that was built by a nonprofit that promises they will never sell their data and that they're taking all of the precautions possible to protect people's personal data. And then the other conversation I've heard is, if you have any concerns, just get off the app for a while and do a paper calendar. And, not ideal, because again, we want everyone to have the tools that they want and that they're comfortable with. And there's so many things that are good about period trackers that do keep you familiar with when your period should come and whether it's late. But it's like so many things, it's just going to be a balance of taking measures that feel appropriate for your needs, for your potential level of risk, and being sure that you're being proactive about protecting yourself online, versus not shutting down your options or denying yourself that kind of tool or that kind of care out of fear. Because again, these laws are just incredibly unjust, and people are actively working to, the lawyers have been activated. The lawyers are stepping up to take action in this moment. So it's all again changing really quickly in real time.
Yeah. And to let everybody know that on your website, they can access support, legal support. So if there are questions and concerns about their own personal experience, they can go to plancpills.org.
That's right. And we recommend this hotline called the Repro Legal Helpline, which is run by a group called If When How, Lawyering for Reproductive Justice. They exist solely to protect people's rights, and the hotline exists to answer anyone's question about their particular situation.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.